ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Rivals Runback, week 5 going into week 6, as always, except for last week. Here with Husky. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. We're getting towards the end of the season. Things are getting spicy. It's going to be a fun run back. Definitely some people changing positions this week. That happens when you have the number one team face the number two team. Someone had to lose there, so there's going to be some drops for sure.
Yeah, interesting. Since the top two teams play each other, and then of course two teams did not play, so interesting, kind of on both ends of the rankings. We'll kick it off with what happened last week or 2 days ago, I guess, as we have Conduit Omega took the 2-1 win over New Origins Han Moon Patriots with a 2-0 victory over GCCE, and then the FF win or the 2-0 victory for Dude Crew over Brom Lives Matter. Uh, anything crazy stick out to you?
I mean, definitely a 2-0 forfeit is kind of something that sticks out. We don't have that very often. Um, But, we kind of expected that top one to be close. It definitely was. Went to three games. And yeah, I mean, there was some questions for Patriots versus GCCE coming in. Patriots had been trending down, GCCE had been trending up. So some people were saying that possibly GCCE was going to pull the upset there, but I think most people did think that Pats were going to win that.
It was kind of the question marks in that game of is GCCE's new lineup uh, the secret sauce to making their playoff run, was last week maybe a fluke? And then, of course, Patriots with back-to-back losses, and then bringing in two new people, how that one was going to shake out. Looks like it went Patriots' way. That was a streamed match of the week, so uh, it's always interesting. After 1 week, we always say this after week one, so kind of similar here. If you change up your lineup, uh, did they get lucky? Was it that's how it's going to happen the rest of the split? Or who knows? So kind of for both teams, GCC seemed like played not as well as they did the week before. So we'll have to see how they bounce back after this one. Uh, got to catch at least game 3 of that top game. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people thinking that's the finals preview right there. Potentially, I'd say there's a solid chance um, that we see that matchup again, the 2-1 victory there, and then the FF. I don't know. I don't think it's been officially said, so I'm not for sure whether or not Brom Lives Matter are just going to opt to not play the remaining 2 weeks or not. I'll reach out to one of them to see if we can know that early or not. I believe at this point they are officially knocked out of playoff run anyway, so all they could really do is come in and maybe upset some people's playoff push. So we'll see if they opt to do that or not. I believe most of the community will be okay if they FF it, as caught a little bit of a backlash there, giving them the option to continue to play, but it worked out, I guess, in their favor anyway by opting to FF. So um, we'll have to see. I guess that can bring us into how those results shook up the standings this week. Um, I don't know. I think there was, I guess, a little bit of a change. Uh, Condo Omega staying at 1, Patriots jumping back up to 2, New Origins Han Moon dropping to 3, GCCE staying at 4. I think maybe they were already 4.
Yep.
Uh, Dude Crew at 5, and then of course Brown Lives Matter dropping down to 6. Uh, every team has a different match record, so no ties. Thankfully, it makes it a lot easier for us over here on the admin side. Uh, no circular tie or anything like that yet. So, how do you feel about the standings? Anything? We have a couple more weeks left for things to shake up, but all of 5 weeks in, is this kind of what you expected?
I mean, obviously you can't expect what happened with BLM. That's kind of just a wrench to throw in there, but you know, I did think coming in that these were the top three teams, and these are the top three teams with 2 weeks left. So, uh, obviously, some roster shakeups happened to the Patriots, and maybe they were not as high as we maybe thought, but they're still in the top three right now. And, looking at the games, unless something changes, maybe a roster move or a draft coach move or something, it does seem like there are three teams that could win this, and there's going to be a fourth team that gets in, but unless they do something drastic, probably not going to have much of a chance towards that title.
Yeah, I mean, Patriots shook their roster up. GCCE shook their roster up. Both of those. It worked out in the first week of both teams doing that. We'll see if Patriots can keep that going. GCCE, of course, are now 1-1 with their new lineup. Conduit, Omega, and New Origins rocking with the continued same starting roster. Some rumors believed that potentially some subs and new lineups, whatnot, coming out this upcoming week. But overall, I expect through playoffs for them to have their uh, continued full chemistry roster. And then, of course, yeah, who's going to get that fourth seed? That's the big question mark. The storyline seems like it's going to be GCC versus Dude Crew in that last week for that fourth playoff spot, but who knows? I was looking at it earlier. We'll see if I can get it right. I'm not really sure, but uh, I believe this is how. So Kondo Omega, they could get first, second, or third seed. Uh, there's 2 weeks left. I think that's the only options really they can get. Patriots could get first, second, or third. I don't know if they can drop to fourth. Maybe. Uh, New Origins, they have playoffs locked as well, but I think they can drop down to fourth. Potentially if they lost back-to-back, and GCC won back-to-back. GCC, of course, can still make playoffs. Uh, I don't think they can jump. Yeah, just third, fourth, or fifth seed for them. And then Dude Crew, it's fourth seed or fifth seed, depending on how BLM plays out the rest of the split, or if they don't. So kind of a +1 on either direction for every team, for the most part, of who can end up where. So uh, that's what we got for the standings. Throw it back over here to us. See if we pop up the. I might have it ready. The stats, it's on the sheet. Don't have to run through it by any means because you guys can just look it up. But a couple things, I guess, that are, I don't want to say scuffed, but just, 1 weekend for people that come in. So, like, you look at the KDA, the two new players for Patriots, of course, going to be at the top as they only have the 2 games. So that'll iron itself out because the 3 people below them are the players that they're going to be playing against in Conduit Omega. So that'll all kind of work itself out on who the actual top KDA people are. Nike Dragon leading the kills now. Of course, all the people from Brown Lives Matter that are on these lists, if they don't play anymore, of course, they're going to fall off the lists, especially the ones that are not per minute type stats. But yeah, CNG Joker still leading that damage. Poodle still leading the vision. Any of these that stick out to you?
Uh, Patriots finally got their support on the vision per minute list. Like to see that for them. So that kind of sticks out. I know BK's was really high up there on the tower damage for quite a while. Does have a little bit of a fall off. It kind of maybe coincided with the Patriots with their losses that they had. But yeah, everything's kind of staying the same, other than some of those like the KDA or something where it's only one game and you just get some outrageous number like 22 for Death Knight.
True. Concrete taking over the tower damage and tower uh, destroys, I guess. So not top laner. Of course, they're top laners, at 3 and 2 in those respective categories. So Kano Omega taking over the tower situation. Key, 5 dragon lead over every other, I guess, jungler, right? Oh no, Nike
Yeah.
Dragon's on there too. I guess that if you help take the dragon, that probably counts towards it. But Key leading dragons by 5. So and he's up there on a few of the lists, Rift Trails and damage taken. I guess maybe you don't want to be on that one, or you do. Who knows? But yeah, there are your stats all through 5 weeks. I feel like we have one more easy thing to do. Oh yeah, team rankings. Usually almost directly overlaps with the standings, but we'll see how it differs just a little bit. Down at the bottom, of course, is going to be BLM after all the drama stuff. Dude Crew at 5. GCC at 4. Patriots at 3. New Origins Hanmoon at 2. And Conduit Omega at 1. So 1 and 2 staying the same. And then, of course, the fall off from all the situation stuff. Everyone just kind of moved up. So I guess the only difference is the 2-3 spot of people believing that, or I guess this is us people. I think maybe, I don't know. I mean, do I have to slow it up? Let me see. This was us. I take it back. The
This is
people,
us.
us,
Yeah, this is us.
us.
Us
We
people.
believe. Us people believe NOH still at number 2 despite being the 3rd seed right now. I was gonna see what the actual. Oh, community has NOH at number 1, so not too far off.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the only flip that differs from the standing is 2 and 3, and that's, I mean, do we believe that's just because NOH has had the consistency of their team? They've proven that they're a good team. Patriots, we all have all of one sample size for the current roster.
Yeah, for me, I kind of looked at the common opponent there. They both placed Conduit in the last couple weeks, and Patriots got beat 2-0. New Origins took them to game 3, and I think it was a 40-minute banger in game 3 there. So,
Oh yeah,
they played them really close, whereas Patriots did not play them really close. Now, Patriots did change their roster, like we mentioned, but you know, you gotta prove it, and they haven't proven it with the new roster. Whereas New Origins Hanmoon, just to play here, there, maybe just a slight misstep by one of their players, and they ended up losing that game, but they very easily could have won and taken that number 1 seed.
yeah. I mean, one game, maybe just a couple team fights away from being 1 seed now at the 3rd seed. So, um, yeah, makes sense to me. Of course, I had a 50% stake in this slide, so makes sense to me. Dun, 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 dun. Believe that's it for the easy stuff. Now the fun stuff starts. All right, now we can ask officially what role should go first, and of
Ooh.
course, on cue, Poodle too quick with it, almost too quick, but hey, right on target. We're gonna start with support. Best role, some would say, as us two support players here on stream, Husky. Uh, we're gonna start with our role. Um,
I have been known to play a little bit of support, but I don't know that I'd call myself a support player.
okay, not yet, not yet, not yet. We're getting
Not
there.
yet.
All right, 5 weeks in, we have at 1 gonna stay 1 Poodle 25, at 2 gonna stay 2 Star Ravenfire, at 3 making their debut this split Death Knight going to come in at 3. Number 4 dropping down 1 spot is going to be WL Perfect Timer of GCCE. Adrian Legitness going to drop 1 spot from 4 to 5, and then Sapphire going to drop to 6. So obviously 5 and 6 here did not play this week, so naturally going to drop regardless of the rest of the split and whatnot. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'll kick it off, I guess, looking at the 1 and 2. Maybe if the outcome of the games would have just flopped the other way and NOH takes game 3, maybe that would be enough to flip those two. Obviously, the outcomes of the game don't dictate the individual power rankings, but there's always a little bit of an overlap there. I think it was close. I mean, you could argue. I mean, hey, Star Raven had more assists in that game 3, or you can say it had more deaths. So, but I think it was a 1 and 2 was really really close this week.
Yeah. When those two teams played, and it was just so close, obviously. Um, Supports are going to have a lot to do with when your team wins or loses. You're supporting the whole team. You're making everyone look good or possibly bad. And when it's that close, that usually means that the supports were also very close. But, you know, Poodle did come out on top. Their team came out on top. And, I don't want to jinx it, but, we are almost done with the season, and has not moved from the number 1 support ranking this split. Uh, that would be the first time it's ever happened if Poodle can hold on and stay number 1. So no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. I think this might have been the toughest week. I was very tempted to cast my vote for Star Raven 1 just because of that game 1. I think it might have been the largest perfect game that I've seen. .0030 on that Milio. So that was almost enough to bump them up to one. So I think it's really close. It might be, might come down to this week. Obviously, don't play each other. They could, I think, potentially play each other in week 7, depending on how things shake out. But um, as of right now, that's 1-2. Death Knight coming in at 3. It's always a little wonky ranking new players that hop in the list. We've seen it a few times this split. I think 2 or 3's kind of been the highest where some of the new players would hop in. Just a super lopsided series. Had a perfect game himself in the 0020 Braum, and then a solid performance on the Tark. So three feels right, and of course only 4 people played this week. So naturally, the person that they beat was perfect timer, who's going to drop down to 4. I think. I mean, game 1 was so lopsided that it's just even weird to hold that against any of the players, I guess, because it's just like no one really played well in their game 1, and so like he went
Yeah.
0-2 and 1 on the Milio game 1, but like didn't really have any time to even be impactful. Right, it was so lopsided. Uh, game 2 played fine on the Nautilus, but I'm just a Nautilus hater to blind pick it at least. Um, so gonna drop to 4. I mean, despite kind of a lopsided loss this week, since the other 2 people didn't play, able to stay above them too.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Death Knight, we saw it on the stats page. Currently the leader for the league in KDA. It's 2 games, but obviously played very well. It's just with 2 games, you're not gonna jump over those 2 at the very top there, but 3 felt good. With how well they performed in those 2 games, and yeah, we had the 2 at the bottom there that did not play, so hard to rank someone who doesn't play, but at least the one who got the win, even without playing, is going to be over the one that did not get the win.
True, true. I don't remember. We'll have to see if the 2 teams that didn't play ended up falling to 5 and 6 in every role. I think there's a decent chance that might happen, but we shall see. So that's what you have for support power rankings through 5 weeks. What role should be next? AD carry, middle, jungle, or top lane? Of course, we got through the most important roles, so I guess we can just roll a dice at this point, but we'll see. 2 votes for top lane. That's about usually how it goes. I feel like we've gone support top a couple weeks at least this split. So we'll rock with top lane power rankings through 5 weeks at 1. Going to stay at the top of the list despite losing this week is going to be Storm. BK's jumping back up into the top 2, going to be 2 this week after being 4 last week. Roy Dismay going to drop down 1 spot after a win. We'll circle back around there. Thundermaster from GCC going to drop 1 spot, and then 5 and 6 dude Caleb, and then put Stoic there. I think that was who was going to play, but they ended up not playing, so I don't know, just put Stoic there. So bottom 2 going to stay in their respective spots. So kick it off from the top. I mean, Storm at 1, they lost. A lot of the times when you lose, usually it seems like people move down a spot. Not always, but a lot of the times. But just because you lose doesn't mean you played poorly. The Aatrox, of course, that was a game they won. Played well. I don't think we've seen a lot of Aatrox this split, or even champs like Aatrox, but pulled it out. Looked solid on that. I think was one of the kind of bright-ish spots in their loss in that game too. Didn't look like a super close game. 27 minutes, but pulled out the Jack 6 and 5. And then if I can find it, they won. Didn't have the best stat line, or sorry, didn't win. Didn't have the best stat line in game 3. Uh, but I mean, the Yorick split push, kind of in that mid to late game, gave him definitely a solid fighting chance with the maiden and whatnot. So I'm gonna stay at 1. Maybe it's because he was already 1. It's always tougher to drop from the number 1 spot than any other spot. But I mean, how are you feeling after keeping somebody at 1 even though they lose?
Yeah, I mean, he did play well, like you mentioned. Even in that game 2 loss, had the positive KDA, the only positive KDA on the team. Um, so I don't think that you could blame Storm for that loss in game 2. Game 3 was, as we mentioned earlier, such a toss up. Um, and we did get to see the game 3, even though it wasn't on stream. played pretty well in the laning phase as well. So even though their team lost, I think Storm performed pretty well. And, you know, I think 1, 2, and 3 was pretty close in this, but, you know, you kind of need either a really great, amazing performance out of 2 for 1 to fall, or a really bad performance out of 1 for 1 to fall. And I don't think either of those necessarily happened. So Storm, with the very solid performance, going to stay 1.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was top lane. I think one or two of the power rankings for the roles. Like I think we both differed, and then what ended up being the actual power ranking because it's an average. Like neither one of us was correct, so like it was kind of like all different flip flopped around. Obviously, I think we both agree 1, 2, and 3 are very close to one another as far as like being in the same tier. I don't know. I guess all these people have been in the top 2 at one point. But Storm going to stay 1. BK's jumping up to 2, not in that game between those two kind of powerhouse teams. So played against Thundermasters. A little bit of banter before the game, as the now number 2 rank and number 4 rank top laners have some little bit of played together and whatnot. So BK's back with a pop-off performance. Didn't look the best, I guess, last week, as the whole team kind of didn't. But this week, kind of a get right game on the 2 AP champs in the Cho'Gath and the Mordekaiser. So gonna be enough to jump up to 2. Uh, the question is, played against someone that we're saying is in a different tier, whereas Storm and Roy played against each other. So I don't know. Should BK's be 3? You could argue he maybe should be 1. Who knows? But I'd say 1, 2, 3 are all pretty close to each other. And then kind of in that same tier, at least in my opinion, Roy Dismay coming in at 3, despite the win over Storm. The Trundle game 1. I'm curious to know what the win rate is this split for Trundle, either jungle or top lane. Maybe I can look that up eventually. Who knows? But pull out the Shin game 2 looked really solid. 9, 1, and 6. A staple pick for kind of supporting the team. And then the Darius. Uh, I'm a big Darius fan, but I feel like late game it's either you're just killing everybody or you're just kind of hanging around. So still played solid. Didn't do anything crazy, but just enough to slightly get moved down to number 3.
Yeah. Um, I think Roy obviously played pretty well. It was enough to get his team the win in the toughest matchup that they have had for the entire split. Um, but yeah, just maybe just not enough in 2 of those 3 games wasn't the focal point of the team. And I mean, you can go and say Conduit, they're undefeated. Everyone should be number 1 against every role, in every role. But there's got to be a focal point of the team, and at least for this week, in 2 of the 3 games, really wasn't about the top lane. So fell a little bit in the power rankings because of that.
And then last but not least of the people that played, of course, going to be Thundermaster. You played this week, so that's enough to keep you out of the bottom 2. That's more than the other 2 top laners got to do this week. Just kind of a rough series for them. I don't remember if he blind picked twice. I think he just blind picked once. Maybe the Malphite was blind. And just kind of had a rough time. Chilled very close to the tower. I believe a large part of both games. So I went 0-3-1 on the Malphite, and then I picked the Shin into Mordekaiser, I believe. 2, 6, and 2, of course, kind of the supportive style top lane. So uh, again, just kind of a rough week for their whole team all around. So it's going to be able to stay at 4, but pretty close between 4 and 5.
Yeah, not the best week, but we have seen good weeks out of Thundermaster. I think about 2 weeks ago. Just chalk it up to a bad week.
True, true, true. All right, 3 roles left: AD carry, middle, and jungle. What should we do next? What say you, chat, if anybody cares? Or I'll just, meeny miny moe it. Dun, dun.
Got jungle.
Jungle, it is. Some people say that role is important. We shall see. Jungle power rankings this week. Going to stay at 6 is going to be Kama. Of course, didn't play. Jonicus at 5, going to stay 5. GCC Tauroma gonna drop 1 spot in their loss. Key gonna drop 2 spots from 1 to 3. Eyesight gonna jump back up into that top 2 from 4th. And Pelly Penguin, last but not least, finally at the number 1 spot, getting the respect he deserves. Gonna jump up from 2 to number 1. So we'll start, the bottom's a little bit easier to talk about. 5 and 6, of course, they did not play uh, this week. That's the rankings they were already at. So naturally going to stay there. Tauroma dropping 1 spot. Of course, when we're only really ranking 4 people this week, I guess it's a little bit easier on our end. I think we touched on it maybe a little bit earlier. We didn't exactly agree on, I don't think, any of the roles, at least, identically. I don't know if that's a word, but it sounds like a word. Tauroma going to drop from 3 to 4. Again, just kind of the consistency with what we're talking about all their players this week, because it was just a rough week. The the Trundle game 2 dying level 1 to your blue buff was just tough to see. Hate to see it. Interesting for the stream, but hey, definitely got way behind game 2, and the game 1 wasn't super close. So 4, where else would you put him?
Yeah, it was a rough showing after such a good showing the week before. Coming in kind of being a playmaker for GCCE. Yeah, like you said, had an 0-9 game, had a 1-8 game. Stayed very aggressive this week, but certainly it just did not work out for Tel Roma. So makes sense to drop to that spot right there. Yeah, uh, that's kind of what we got for Tel Roma right there. For Key, fairly big drop for them. You could say it was a pretty good series. Game 1 definitely did pretty well on that Lilia, 11, 8, and 11. Um, but 2 and 5 in the game 2, and then 2 and 7 in game 3. Maybe, you know, left a little bit to be desired. Eyesight just popped off 2 games. Um, you know, maybe not the hardest competition, but definitely had the biggest pop off of any jungle. And Pelly finally moving up to that first spot. Played what they needed them to do, got the win. Um, maybe the 0 and 7 in game 3 doesn't look the greatest, but served their role, played Vi, they clicked R on the carry, and were able to win a couple team fights because of that.
Yeah, that's of course who they played against each other. Number 1 and number 3 played against each other. In this role, at least, the team that won ended up at number 1. The team that lost ended up at number 3. And then yeah, I agree. Just you could argue the competition of whether or not Eyesight should jump up to 2 or whatnot. But again, kind of like top lane 1, 2, and 3 are super close to each other. And obviously the Vi pick is kind of the other team has a. Wait, I'm tripping? No, I'm not tripping. Okay, yeah, I was like, they definitely picked Vi for Vayne, right? Yeah. So I like the Vi pick. I think one of the reasons I was okay with Key just slightly missing out on top 2. There was a couple late game Maokai ults that hit nobody before a team fight. So that's what some people were whispering. But no, 1, 2, and 3, that's super close in my opinion. Real similar to top lane, I think.
Yeah, these 3 teams seem pretty close, and pretty much in most of the roles, the 3 players on these teams also seem pretty close. Um, Definitely a trend that has been going on in these power rankings, and I'm pretty sure is going to continue in the last 2.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. Some of these players are still gonna play against a lot of top 3 players in a lot of these roles playing against each other this next week. So going to be an interesting one. All right, I think we have 2 roles left, right? AD carry and mid lane. Which one's going to be next? Mid, it is. It's gonna force me to go to an ad in 7 minutes, so we'll see if we can just speed run these 2. But who knows? We'll see what we can do. Mid lane next. 1 going to stay 1. Nightmare. This might be the highest a player has came in. Obviously, with 2 teams not playing, it's maybe a little not as wonky. But St. Nash coming in at 2 for the Patriots. CNG Joker going to drop from 2 to 3 for GCCE. Pandorum 4 going to stay 4, and then Jack and Rich in full shield down there at the bottom after not playing their game. Going to just, we'll say 5 and 6, obviously kind of the staple with all these roles. 5 and 6 didn't play. For Pandorum, I definitely could make the argument. Could have been 3 this week. He kind of gets the brunt of it, having to play, not having to play, maybe wants to play top laner slash tank slash supportive style champs in the mid lane, um, doing what they need to do to at least make these games close if they're not winning them. And so 4 and 3, I think we're super close, probably from both of us. So, Pandorum still had a solid series despite them losing. CNG Joker, again, their whole team had a rough week. Him no excuse there either. It had definitely a rough game 1, 1-7-1 on the Oriana. And the Victor I thought was going to pop off, definitely popped off in a previous week, but just a rough all the way around for the team. So 3 and 4 in that Victor game 2 didn't really have a chance to get online. So 3 and 4 could flip them either way, but I think you could definitely make the argument for this being correct.
Yeah, and we talked about it. Saint Nash making his debut at 2. I mean, definitely a couple pop off games there. Had the 6 and 1, then went 3 and 1. Nothing too crazy, but I mean, when you're talking 9 and 2 in a series, bunch of assists in there too. Definitely going to get you ranked pretty high on this list. And it seems at this point, unless something crazy happens, Nightmare not going to move out of that number 1 role anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't expect it. Obviously, this upcoming week, 1 versus 2 play against each other. But yeah, I mean, Nightmare. This might be the first role we've gone over, or I mean, 1 and 2 you could maybe say is somewhat close. Obviously, it's ranked number 1, ranked number 2, but it's only been 1 week for St. Nash, so let's maybe pump the brakes a little bit. So we'll say number 1 is definitely maybe in his own tier as of right now. I think played. Yeah, he pulled out the Cho'Gath also, right? Yeah. Cho'Gath Hwei, not very many people pilot the Hwei. And then a very large reason as to why they were able to win that game 3, that A-Soul, just nasty late game was just, I don't know, just a menace. Definitely an annoying champ to play once you're 48 minutes into the game. That is mid lane power rankings. Last but not least, the AD carries. Sometimes they do something. And this week, let's see how it shook up. I think somewhat, but not. Oh, actually, no, I didn't. Okay, I jinxed it. Instantly jinxed it. As I was doing this, I was like, wait. Whenever I was updating it, I was like, wait, did I already update this? I was like having old man amnesia going on, deja vu type
Nothing
thing,
changes.
and I was like, oh wait, everybody's the exact same. Which I don't think either one of us had this ranking, but when they averaged together, everybody stayed the same.
Yeah, it was. We definitely had some different takes on the ADC power rankings here. But when you average them together, it ended up staying the same, and this is what we came up with. Um, Definitely, we have the 2 at the bottom didn't play. GCCE didn't have a good week. They're going to be towards the bottom there. So we're kind of looking at 1, 2, and 3 here. Concrete ended up getting the win. When you win, you're going to have good stats as a carry. Nike Dragon, really, even in like that game 3 loss, just popped off on the vein. Definitely deserve for that. And then, Intelligence down there putting up some crazy numbers in their series, but, maybe it was just a little bit easier of a game when you have 1 and 2 going against each other, and they both pop off. Pretty hard to overtake them.
Yeah, and I think like last week, I think there was a little bit of a gap between 2 and 3, and I think this week the gap closed, at least in my opinion. Obviously, we didn't have those. We kind of had it all sorts of flipped around 1, 2, and 3, I think, but um, I feel more confident now saying that 1, 2, and 3 are super close to each other. Um, I don't think, was it game 2 maybe Nike Dragon didn't have the best stat line overall as a team. They didn't have the best game, I guess. So maybe you could argue 2 and 3 could have been flipped. But I think this is one of the roles that kind of caught the flack of strength of opponent. So 1 and 2 going to stay there. Of course, Concrete kind of similar to the Nightmare conversation of it's going to be tough to overtake that spot. Um, and then so because Eli had two super solid games, and then Sniper. The only thing I want to say is I don't know why the Mel to 80 carry felt forced. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know. Mel plus Millie on the bot lane. I didn't love it. Wasn't a big fan. Thought it should have went mid, but it is what it is. It was a rough game overall. So um, yeah, there's the 80 carry. I guess that one was easy because no one really changed, so nothing too crazy for the bot lane power rankings. We have one more thing to do. We'll see. You can at least start to see it. It's okay. It'll be up on the VOD later. Um, predictions. What's going to happen? What's going to happen here in 5 days? Husky week 6. We have Conduit Omega versus Patriots. GCCE versus NOH. And maybe not BLM versus Dude Crew. We'll have to see on whether or not that one actually happens, or if Dude Crew just gets another free win, keeping their playoff hopes alive. Um, I'll go just the top one first. I mean, that's going to be our stream match. Conduit Omega potentially going to have some subs, maybe e-sub. I don't really know. All they need to do is win one game to stay in that number 1 seed. But Patriots, if they can pull out the 2-0, they can overtake 1 seed. And a lot of people don't think number 1 seed means that much because you're going to make playoffs. Who cares if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4? Number 1 seed, you play Braum Lives Matter in the 7th week, which may or may not be just an FF. And then you play 4 seed in playoffs. So I think number 1 seed is super important. What are you thinking with the information I think we both have as what potentially might happen?
Yeah.
As far as
So obviously Conduit undefeated looks amazing. It looks like they are not going to have most of their roster for this game. And with that being said, I think that not having most of their roster, Patriots are going to take the 2-0 in this game. Now, if they did have most of their roster, I would pick Conduit. I think that they have a good enough team that if they were all playing, they would probably get the perfect season here. But they don't. And the Patriots do have their entire starters playing. So I'm going 2-0 for the Patriots.
Oof. Okay. I don't know, man. It depends. Yeah, I guess similar to you. I think if Conduit Omega has to e-sub, I think Patriots win. I think if they don't have to e-sub and it's just subs, I think Conduit Omega still wins. My understanding is that they're going to have to e-sub because of when the roster locked, last weekend. If they do have to e-sub, yeah, I'll go Patriots. It's going to be 2-0. It just feels weird betting against Conduit Omega undefeated team. But I'm going to blame it on the E-sub. You lose 3 bans. So Patriots, at least in that game 1, I feel like they're blue side also. I mean, they get free picking on whoever they want B1. Is that enough to overtake? Obviously, Conduit Omega, even with E-subs, even with subs, they're going to play with a lot of good players. So I think it's going to be real close. If they are E-subbing, I'll rock with Patriots as well in the 2-0. But if it's not an E-sub and just subs, I'm going to go Conduit in a 2-1.
Okay.
And then we'll go. We'll go over both of them, just assuming that it's going to happen. But we'll kick the middle one here: GCC versus New Origins Hanmoon. Now, the only way GCCE could potentially get up to a 3rd seed is if they win out and NOH loses out. That starts with playing against them. I don't know. After this last week, it's if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd say this could go game 3, no problem. But after this last week, I'm just gonna rock NOH 2-0, not overthink it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, unless something crazy happens, I gotta rock NOH here. They looked really good against Conduit. GCC did not look good against Pats. So I'm gonna rock with the team that looked good recently, and that's NOH here.
Okay. I believe NOH. I don't know. I should have had all this written down. Who knows? But the the games matter as far as playoff seeding because it'll stack up, with whatever happens in week 7. I think I already kind of put it out there as most teams, what your seed is right now isn't going to change come week 7, and that's kind of your seed's going to determine who you play against in week 7. But if you stack 2 wins or 2 losses, then that could definitely shake up your seeding. So every game I believe matters. Or if hey, I have playoffs locked in, who cares? I don't really care what seed I get. If you're one of those teams, then hey, more power to you. But yeah, I believe we're on the same page there as far as what's going to happen. But hey, I hope GCC can bounce back, and it's a 3-game banger. We'll have to just wait and see. And then BLM versus Dude Crew, I'm going to assume it's not going to happen. BLM is out of playoffs, so like they can't make playoffs. I don't know. You could come back, I guess, for the remaining players. Maybe they scrounge together a roster just to get like some practice or something, or just to be a menace and try to like keep Dude Crew out of playoffs so they could show up. But assuming they don't show up, obviously that'll be a free win. If they do show up, I don't know. Hey, I'm gonna go Dude Crew. They still have playoff hopes alive this far into the split. I think regardless of whether or not BLM shows up or not, I'm gonna go Dude Crew. If they play, I'll say Dude Crew 2-1. But we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I'm predicting the FF here, so I don't think that they do show up. If they do show up, they're probably going to wish that they FF'd, because Dude Crew's going to take the 2-0 either way here.
Sheesh. Okay. So Dude Crew after this week, we're saying playoff hopes will still be alive. I'm trying to think. Do they need? I'm gonna pull up the standings. So Dude Crew with a win would go to 2-4. GCCE, regardless if they win or lose, will still be 4th seed, and Dude Crew will be just 1 game at most, or 1 match at most, behind GCCE. So it should still be in that week 7 Dude Crew versus GCCE, and winner takes 4th seed. So as long as Dude Crew, if they play, they have to win. GCCE, you're just really playing for practice, I guess, unless you can stack 2 wins and potentially jump up to 3rd. But as far as playing against Dude Crew and having to beat them to stay in the playoff race, that should still happen regardless. So, yeah. All right. So it looks like I think we agreed on all 3 of them, maybe, for the most part.
Maybe.
I think so. A lot of asterisks on if this happens, but yeah, I think we agree. So we'll see what who ends up playing for Condo Omega. Looks like it's going to be game time decision type situation. So we'll see there. And we're, of course, making the assumption that Patriots are going to rock back the same roster. We're making the assumption that GCCE is going to use the same roster as last week, and that NOH is still going to rock their starters. So we'll have to see once people. I might reach out to some of the Brown Lives Matter people to see if they are just going to FF the rest of the split or come to play kind of for fun. All right. That's all I got. Any parting words for the audience?
No, it's been a fun split so far. I think it's gonna be a banger once we get into playoffs. Definitely think it's also gonna be a banger here at the end. If you guys haven't looked at the schedule, that week 7, I really like what we did there with the 5 versus 4 being the game that's going to happen. Doesn't matter who it is. 5 faces 4, and it's going to get streamed. That's kind of just like a playoff before the playoffs, a play-in, if you will, and going to be definitely a banger, as it looks like no matter what happens, that will be a play-in, and those teams will be fighting for their playoff spot.
Yeah, and we talked about it. I didn't put it on there yet, but we can lock it in. I'm kind of feeling it now that we're in the moment of your kind of your idea we got cooking up for first seed. It might not change anything. We'll see. So in week 7, first seed, whoever that ends up being, which I believe can just be Patriots or Conduit Omega. I think that's the only 2 that can be first seed at this point, going into week 7 at least. They will get to pick who they play in week 7 between seeds 2, 3, and 6. I don't know why you would not pick seed 6, but if you just felt like asserting your dominance, and maybe you can do the math and see if you can shake up the rankings or whatever, you could have the choice to pick a 2nd or 3rd seed to play against, or you could just take BLM, which might just be a FF win. Don't know why you wouldn't do that, but we wanted to reward whoever is first seed going into that week 7. So they'll have the
Yeah,
opportunity there, and the other two teams will just play against each other.
I think you want to flex your muscle there and take the 2 seed. Just prove you are the 1 seed. Take them out, prove it to everyone. Doesn't really mean anything, but it's for pride. And I know these guys from Banner Chat have a lot of pride, so I'm going to appeal to that and say, you know, do it, or maybe you're just scared.
Yeah, I think there might be a chance to where you could like call somebody out, like you play them, you beat them, and they drop from like third to fourth maybe. Like I think there's a scenario where that could maybe happen. So that's like you could do that for that reason. Um, on the other hand, you might be giving somebody else a free FF win, which some people like and some people don't. Some people don't like taking a break, having a bye week. I think a lot of people play in other leagues, so you could scrim or just take the day off type thing. But some people don't like having a bye, so I guess it's another appealing way to look at it. Or some teams really like having a bye and not thinking about League of Legends for a few days. So that'll be updated on this bracket schedule here shortly. But there's that little caveat to throw in there. All right. I think that's all I got. Rosters are, of course, locked. I feel like I had a couple other admin things, but who knows? We'll have some write-ups and whatnot coming out this week. Might be a little bit easier if we only have 5 teams, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it will be fun. Definitely the stream game gonna be a banger.
That's the hope. We're hoping for 3 games. If we only had 3 games one time this split, hoping for a second one. We shall see. All right, that's it for us tonight. We will put out some more content this week, and then, if nothing else, we'll be live Sunday. Conduit Omega versus Patriots. See you then.
Have a good one, guys.